I am writing this from my home office, surrounded by mahogany bookshelves that cost more than my first car. The view from my window is spectacular. A manicured lawn, a quiet street in a neighborhood where everyone knows your net worth, but nobody knows your middle name. That I am 55 years old. By every measurable metric of the modern world, I am a winner. I have made it. I have the C-suite title. I have the diversified portfolio. I have the respect of peers who check my LinkedIn profile with a mix of admiration and envy. But I am writing this because I am tired. Not the physical fatigue that comes from a long day of yard work. That is a good, clean kind of tired. I am speaking of a deep, soulful exhaustion. It is the exhaustion of a man who spent 3 decades sprinting up a mountain, fueled by anxiety and ambition, only to reach the summit, look around, and realize he climbed the wrong peak. That if I were to drop dead right now, while typing this sentence, my legacy would not be a collection of warm memories or lives touched. My legacy would be a spreadsheet. It would be a list of transactions, acquisitions, and quarterly projections. My children would cry, of course, but once the tears dried, they would remember me as a provider, a man who was always there physically, perhaps, but whose mind was always somewhere else, on a call and a deal in the future that I spent 30 years, from the hungry age of 25 to the waking nightmare of 55, living a lie. It is a lie of someday. It is a lie that says your life is a rehearsal, and the real show begins when you have enough money, enough status, or enough time. That I am sharing this not to lecture you, but to warn you. I am speaking to you from a future you are currently building, and I am telling you, dismantle it before it collapses on top of you. For the last 30 years, I haven't really been living. I have been executing a program. We all know the script. It is handed to us the moment we graduate, rolled up inside our diplomas. It is whispered by our well-meaning parents and reinforced by every movie, advertisement, and magazine cover we see. It says, put your head down. Grind now, play later. Sacrifice your 20s to build your 30s. Sacrifice your 30s to secure your 40s. Sacrifice your 40s to maximize your 50s. That I was an excellent student of this script. I lived on autopilot. I treated my life like a waiting room for a flight that was perpetually delayed. I remember being 28. I was working 14-hour days, missing dinners, skipping the gym, eating takeout at my desk. I told myself, I'll take better care of my health when I make manager. Then I made manager, and the stress doubled. So I said, I'll start living a balanced life when I make director. Do you see the pattern? I was sedated by the promise of a future payoff. I viewed the present moment as an obstacle, something to be gotten through to reach the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. I treated time as a currency I could invest. I thought if I deposited my happiness into a 401k today, I could withdraw with interest at age 65. But here's the brutal truth I learned too late. You cannot bank time. Time is not money. You can save money. You can invest money. You can lose money and make it back. Time is nothing like that. Time is a fire. It burns whether you use it to warm yourself or let it burn your house down. The joy you refuse to feel at 25 because you were too busy building your career is not waiting for you in a vault. It is ash. It is gone forever. The greatest trick the modern economy plays on us is the illusion of the finish line. We are led to believe that there is a specific number, a specific title, or a specific asset that will finally flip the switch in our brains from striving to contentment. When I was 25, I thought $100,000 a year was the finish line. I remember telling my wife, late at night in our cramped apartment, "Honey, once we hit 6 figures, the pressure will be off. We can breathe. We can travel." I hit that number at 28. Do you know how long the satisfaction lasted? Maybe 3 weeks. Then I looked around. I saw guys making $200,000. I saw the guys with the summer homes. Suddenly, $100,000 felt like failure. This is what I call the moving goalpost syndrome. It is a psychological mechanism designed to ensure you never win. The dissatisfaction is built into machinery. You achieve a goal, you get the promotion, you buy the Porsche, you close the massive deal. For about 48 hours, you feel a rush of dopamine. You feel like a god. But then, the neurochemistry settles. You return to your baseline. And because you have tied your self-worth to achievement, you immediately feel empty again. You need a new hit. You need a bigger number. That I spent 30 years on a hamster wheel. I ran furiously. I sweated. I bled. I sacrificed my sleep, my health, and my relationships. I thought I was climbing a ladder to heaven, but a hamster wheel doesn't go up. It just spins. That I see young men and women today doing the same thing. They wear their burnout like a badge of honor. They brag about hustling and grinding on social media. I want to grab them by the shoulders and scream. I want to tell them, the goalpost will move. As soon as you get what you think you want, your brain will normalize it. If you cannot find peace in a one-bedroom apartment, you will not find it in a mansion. The mansion just has more rooms to feel lonely in. There's a popular metaphor in business books about climbing the ladder of success, only to reach the top and realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. For me, this wasn't a metaphor. It was a tragic reality of my life. That MY ladder was built of 80-hour work weeks. It was held together by missed anniversaries and forgotten birthdays. I climbed it relentlessly. I missed my daughter's first steps because I was on a conference call with a client in London, a client whose name I can't even remember today. I missed my son's championship soccer game because I was closing a merger that, 5 years later, ended in divestiture. I climbed and I climbed. And when I finally poked my head above the clouds at age 55, I looked around. I saw the view from the top. And it was terrifyingly emptied. I realized that the wall I had scaled was the wall of significance. I wanted to be important. I wanted to be the guy. I wanted strangers to be impressed by my bio. But the wall I should have been climbing was the wall of happiness and connection. I achieved everything I set out to achieve. But in doing so, I became a stranger in my own home. My children love me, but they don't know me. They know the ATM. They know the man who sits at the head of the table and asks about grades. They do not know the man inside the suit, because I never let that man come out to play. I traded the intimacy of my family for the admiration of strangers. That is a transaction that cannot be reversed. Regret is a heavy thing to carry, but the heaviest regrets are not about the things you did. They are about the things you didn't do. I don't lie awake at night thinking about the bad investments I made or the promotions I missed. Those are trivial. What keeps me awake at 3 a.m. is a fishing trip point 10 years ago. My father called me. He was getting older, slowing down. He said, "Son, I'm planning a trip up to the lake. Just the two of us. Like the old days. Are you free next month?" I checked my calendar. It was full of meetings, critical strategy sessions, quarterly reviews, things that felt incredibly important at the time. I told him, "Dad, I can't right now. Work is crazy. Let's do it next year when things calm down." He said, "Okay, next year." He died 2 years later. We never went on that trip. I still have the critical meeting notes from that month saved on an old hard drive somewhere. I haven't looked at them in a decade. I would trade every single asset I own, every share of stock, every square foot of this house, just to be sitting in a boat in the rain with my dad for 1 hour. But I can't. That time is gone. I gambled on next year, and I lost. We treat our relationships like they're immortal. We think our parents will always be there. We think our friends will always be around. We think our children will always be small. This is the arrogance of the living. For me, the realization didn't come in a meditation retreat or a quiet walk in the woods. It came in an emergency room that IT happened 3 years ago, at 52. I was in a boardroom, arguing over budget cuts. My face was hot. My pulse was racing. I was angry about a decimal point on a spreadsheet. Suddenly, the room started to tilt. A tightness gripped my chest like a vice. My left arm went numb. I couldn't breathe. The next thing I remember is the ceiling tiles of the hospital, the harsh fluorescent lights, the beeping of machines. My suit, my armor, the symbol of my status, had been cut off me with scissors. I was lying there in a gown, shivering, stripped of everything that I thought made me me. The doctor said it was a cardiac event, a warning shot. My heart was telling me that it couldn't keep up with the lies I was telling it. Lying on that gurney, staring at the lights, I had a terrifying clarity. I realized that if I died right then, my life would be summarized by my resume. Senior Vice President. Led a team of 50. Increased revenue by 200%. A resume is a terrible obituary. It lists your economic utility. It does not list your soul. It does not list how well you loved, how hard you laughed, or how kind you were. I looked at my wife in the corner of the room. She was crying, and I realized she had been waiting 30 years for me to truly arrive home. Not just my body, but my mind. She had been married to a ghost who haunted the house on weekends, but lived in the office. I realized I'd been renting my life to my employer, hoping to buy it back later. But the lease was expiring. I had a friend named Robert. Robert was the hardest worker I knew. He worked 70-hour weeks for 40 years. He was a legend in his industry. That Robert's plan was simple. I will work hard now so I can enjoy life later. He had a vision of retirement. A house in Florida, golf every morning, traveling with his wife. Robert retired at 65 with a massive fortune. He had won the game. He had his retirement party on a Friday. He was diagnosed with a massive stroke the following Tuesday. He died 3 days later. All that deferred happiness? Vaporized. All those some days. Canceled that Robert's life is a cautionary tale that haunts me. He sacrificed 40 years of today for a tomorrow that never came. We treat life as if we have a contract with the universe that guarantees us 85 years. We do not. We are biological entities on a spinning rock, fragile and temporary. You are not promised retirement. You are not promised next year. You are barely promised next Tuesday. The biggest lie society tells you is that you have time. You don't. You have this time. Right now. The only time you actually possess is the present moment. So, what changed after the heart attack? Everything. And nothing that I didn't sell everything and move to a monastery. I didn't abandon my family to find myself in India. I still work. I still have bills. But the internal machinery has changed. I stepped off the hamster wheel. I began the painful process of deprogramming the corporate soldier inside me. Point one. I stopped trying to impress people I don't like. This was the biggest liberation. I looked at my life and realized how much of it was performance art. I bought cars I didn't need to impress neighbors I didn't know. I went to galas I hated to be seen by people I didn't respect. I sold the showy car. I stopped caring if my suit was this season's cut. The relief was instantaneous. Point two. I started prioritizing experiences over assets. I finally took that trip to Italy, not the 5-star luxury version I thought I needed to earn to prove my worth. Just a simple trip with my wife. We ate pizza on a curb. We got lost in Venice. We laughed until our sides hurt. That memory is worth more to me now than the last 10 years of bonuses combined. You cannot hug a bank account. You cannot reminisce with a stock certificate. Point three. I repair my relationships, or started to. I realize that relationships are like plants. If you don't water them for 30 years, you can't just pour a bucket of water on them at the end and expect a lush forest. You have to nurture them daily. I started calling my kids without an agenda. I didn't ask about their careers. I asked about their days. I started dating my wife again. I started saying no to work obligations so I could say yes to the people who would actually cry at my funeral. Point four. I redefined success. I used to define success by the balance of my bank account. Now I define success by the quality of my sleep. Did I laugh today? Did I help someone? Did I feel the sun on my face? Did I look my wife in the eye and really listen to her? If the answer is yes, I am successful. Even if the stock market crashes. Part 8. My challenge to you, I am writing this to you, the 25-year-old with big dreams, the 35-year-old with a mortgage and stress, the 45-year-old who feels a trap closing in. You have something I do not have. You have the time I wasted. You are standing at the fork in the road where I made the wrong turn. You are looking at the ladder and deciding where to place it. Don't wait for the chest pain. Don't wait for the divorce papers. Don't wait for the empty nest. Don't wait for the diagnosis. Stop telling yourself you will be happy when you get the promotion. That is a lie. Stop trading your health for wealth. It is a bad trade. No amount of money can buy back a destroyed body. Stop missing the small moments while chasing the big ones. The small moments are the big ones. Start living intentionally. Start understanding that no is a complete sentence. You do not owe the world your burnout. Start calling your parents. If they are still here, call them today. Not Sunday. Today, at I am 55. I am finally learning to live. It took me 30 years and a near-death experience to learn this. Please, for the love of God, do not let it take you that long. Don't just climb the ladder. Check the wall. Don't just run the race. Stop and look at the scenery. Because at the end of the day, when the lights go out, nobody asks how fast you ran. They ask how well you love. Don't waste yours.